On the morning of September 2nd, 2018, I had the honor of interviewing AHRMA's race director, Cindy Cowell. We were interviewing Cindy to find out more about AHRMA and how we could get involved with this great organization. Sadly, less than 48 hours after this interview, Cindy passed away. In honor of her memory, we wanted to share this interview with all of you.
I'm good at talking, so. Cindy Cowell, C-O-W-E-L-L. I am AHRMA's road race director as well as their membership director. So I have jobs both at the track and then back in the office. Well, AHRMA actually stands for American Historic Racing Motorcycle Association. We have all different disciplines of racing. We have dirt track, we have cross country, which is like hare scrambles, trials, motocross, vintage and post-vintage. It's not exactly modern motocross, but it's not vintage either. It's middle of the road. AHRMA's road racing is the part that travels the most, that has the most exposure. Our motocross numbers of riders are bigger, but their events are more regional and smaller. So the road racing is probably the one that people would know in AHRMA. And we have flat track, dirt track as well. Late 80s. They started off with Daytona. It started as a group of racers down in the Florida region who wanted to go road racing. Dick Mann was involved and a number of very well-known people. Jeff Smith, famous motocrosser from England, Brian Slark from England, and they all wanted to get going with this road racing program. So they piggybacked with a group down there, a little club, and got Daytona for a half a day, and they did some road races. And as we grew, we piggybacked with CCS as they started to grow. They weren't big enough and we weren't big enough, so we worked together. This is in the late 80s, and we became probably about 2 years, maybe 3 years with them, and then we were on our own, and we've never looked back. An average event is probably 200 riders, and pretty much everything runs in between that 200 and 300 range for most of our events. The diversity that AHRMA offers in our road racing events, we go from your pre-40 hand-shift Indians and Harleys all the way up to your newest Panigale Ducati. But we don't have your R6s. We don't run four-cylinder modern machines. We run, the newest four cylinders are our vintage superbike classes. So the era, the Doug Pohl and Scott Russell, right in there, the Kawasaki versus the 888 Ducati, that's about where our transition is. Anything before that, there are some four cylinders. Anything after that, it's only twins, special machines. We have an elite group of bikes. We're not just running bikes that anybody can buy. So it brings a special interest because you're gonna see in your premier class, you're gonna see a Manx, a Norton Manx, you're gonna see a BSA Gold Star and a Velocet and a Royal Enfield racing. You're not just gonna see a bunch of bikes that no one is interested in. Then we run sidecars. We run modern sidecars. We run vintage sidecars. We run every type of sidecar that there is out there. Honda CB160s that we do as an exhibition race so that they can do a Le Mans style start. Because if we make it a regular class, then we can't tell them that they have to do the Le Mans style start. So AHRMA is so diverse, that's why we have the numbers, and that's why we have the big draw. You know, you can come with 3 or 4 bikes, run 6, 8 races in a weekend. AHRMA also offers its own road racing school. And our school is not just a ride around the track day, it's a very intense, full school on Friday. You know, it starts out with all the safety stuff and then getting up to speed, learning the lines, and then the technical stuff and the braking and you know, they'll actually get a tire out in the classroom and demo how the tire moves, how the walls shift. Then they get the riders on a bike and teach them how to hang off and drag a knee. And you know, some say that's old school, I mean new school, and some say that's old school, but you know, when you're getting down and getting that knee on the ground, when you do crash, you're a whole lot closer to the ground. So as crazy as it sounds, it's much safer to ride with that knee down, and you get that feel for the machine. And the racers who take this, they come away going, wow, I've been to this school and this one really taught me some stuff. And then they race all weekend. They have to wear their vest before they've actually completed it. So not only do we offer all these racing classes and all this, but we can bring you into racing if you've never done it. I would start with the AHRMA rulebook, because in the rulebook it lists all the classes, most of the bikes that fit into them. So, you know, like anything, you go to the grocery store, there's some things that you're not going to look at, and there's some things that you are. So you narrow it down to the things that you're interested in. Then maybe you flip to the website, or you flip to the back of the magazine, or you go to the AHRMA website and you see who's got what for sale, and you start getting an idea of what those bikes, oh, I can't afford that, or hey, I can afford that. So you may not know what the bikes sell for or what parts sell for. But once you maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 choices of classes, then you say, okay, I'm going to do the research, and you'll find out what you can buy. I would go with probably 2 or 3 different choices here. If you don't want to deal with a vintage bike and you want to go with a more modern bike, there's the Triumph Thruxton. It's a very affordable bike. It's simple. It's a very manageable bike. It won't surprise you. I think it's 55 horsepower out of the box, and it's just a comfortable bike. But you know, it's exciting, but it's not. So if you want to get into the vintage and you want to go with a lower, your Hondas, your 160s, your 350s, and then some of the 2-strokes are still available out there. The RDs, the TZs are starting to get some money going, but you know, the little ones are still some out there affordable. And I would say if you want to stay away from the Japanese, if you want to go with American or British, you may still be able to go with the small Aramaki, the Harley Aramaki, or maybe your 500 Triumph. You're not going to get a gold star, but you might still be able to swing a Triumph. We actually offer 2 classes. They're called novice production, lightweight and heavyweight. You know, your 750 Honda or your 350 Honda or Triumph or Yamaha. Or, they're stock. You only change. I mean, you leave the seat, you leave the body work. Everything stays the same. You take the lights off. You safety wire it. You can put some different foot pegs on it to make it a little bit safer for racing, but otherwise it's a stock class. So if you buy a $500 bike, you put some tires on it, safety wire it, you've got $1,000 in it, and you're on the racetrack. And you come out to the first few races with a bike that you've not got a lot into. You learn the mistakes. You may have a couple of crashes. You may have some mechanical issues, but you meet the people that are also out there racing, and they say, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to try that. And you sort of feel your way into what might suit you. You know, you run into the guy and you're next to you in the pit, and he says, well, hey, I've got this bike for sale, and oh, I used to have one of those when I was a kid. Well, the next thing you're racing the bike you had when you were growing up, and you didn't even think it was a possibility. I mean, you know, AHRMA, like any group, is working all the time to up our social media connection, you know, through Facebook and all of that. And we do have our own Facebook page, as well as a members-only Facebook page, and that's what it's there for, to help other racers. Some racing organizations, it's very cutthroat. It's very, you know, this racer doesn't want to talk to this racer. In this group, your closest competitor will be loaning you his spare bike to race because he doesn't want to see you not racing. So everybody in this group shares information, will help you get a part. If you break your bike on a weekend, you'll have 7 people trying to help you rebuild it. That's the beauty of this, that everybody is in it for the fun. AHRMA doesn't offer cash prizes. I think once you bring money into it, you change the whole dynamic, and we won't do that. That's not what we're about. We're an amateur racing organization run on a professional level. Sure. First thing I would say, it's not what I would say, it's what I say all the time. Any event, I have spectators who come by and they're just interested in what we're doing, and I say, best thing for you to do is get yourself a non-racing membership, because then you're getting the monthly magazine, you're getting all of the contacts in there, you're getting the advertisers, our sponsors that are advertising our, all the products, the stuff that you can, so then there you are, you have all this information, you know how to enter, you know who to call, you know what to look for, so you've got a resource. With that, you have access to the website, so you can look on there, you can look at the rule book that you'll get, You'll know when an event is coming up, maybe one near you. Maybe it's not even a road race event. Maybe it's a motocross event, but it's still an AHRMA event. There's a lot of crossover bikes that are, a bike that can be used on the street or on the road. So you go over to a motocross event and you're talking to some of the guys, and you might even find a bike there that you want to put on the road race course, or vice versa. I think I've sort of said it, but I'll reiterate that I think what AHRMA really is, it's a family. It's people bring their wives, their mothers, their children to these events because everybody enjoys being part of it. There's so many of our events have like a festival. There's stuff going on. There's a bike show. There's a swap meet. There's, vendors selling, not a flea market, but there's things going on. So there's always something to do, even if you're not racing. You find all of a sudden the day is over and you've just had such a good time, and you go home, you can come and get involved with AHRMA, you can volunteer to be a worker, there's jobs for everybody. We run on a completely volunteer staff, professional volunteer staff. I mean, they want to do this. They want to be racers, they are racers, but they can't be racing. So their way of getting their racing fix is by scoring, or by working on the grid, or working on the gate, or teching a bike. So it's a family thing. That's probably the biggest thing, is it's a family thing. You want to be a part of that crazy family.